Hi, I'm Alice Holden. I'm the Director of Production of Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and I'm responsible for almost everything on stage except the acting. So I oversee scenery, costumes, lights, sound, stage operations, and props. Though fortunately I don't have to do much as we have a really great staff who does all of the hard work, which comprises at the high season about 170 people. Additionally, I shepherd the design teams through the process to try to get us shows that are great looking, great feeling, or tragic, and also rep really well. In the course of a season at Oregon Shakespeare Festival, we do about 800 performances of 11 different shows that incorporate almost 700 changeovers, which means everything we do has to be built for rep. It affects every department. In fact, the stage operations department is about repertory. But in the meantime, the scenery and props department have to build sets and props which can hold up to that amount of activity. And for that, we need a great building.
Hi, my name is Bill Teesey. I'm the Technical Director for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Welcome to the new production building in Talent. We worked with the architect from ORW and Adroit Construction as the general contractor. The whole building turned out amazing. It was a great team to work with from the beginning to the end. It was a fantastic working experience. They had great ideas. They were fantastic listeners, and they were very easy and willing to work with us with our ideas.
I think one of the things that may not be obvious from this project when you look at it from the outside and go, oh, it's just a big warehouse type building, is just the intricacy of what does go on inside here on a day-to-day basis, and the intricacy of what goes on in creating the props and the set pieces that ultimately wind up on stage.
One of the interesting things with working with this group, you learn how these things get built, and then you try to create this facility around that will accommodate the vision and the physical requirements that building these pieces here entails.
We learned a lot, just getting an insider's understanding of how everything that I see on stage as a spectator gets put together and all the effort that goes into that, and working with people who had a clear vision and a real passion for their work was very refreshing.
It's a very large building. You essentially have a 65,000 square foot footprint spread between an elevation change of about 14 feet across the site.
The building is divided in half. We have housing adjacent to our property. We decided to make the quieter pieces on one side of the building against the houses, which are costume rental and prop storage. On the other half, where all the noise is generated, we have the automation shop, the metal shop, prop shop, scene shop, paint shop, and the CNC room, plus our loading dock area as well. We have enormous amount of new equipment that you normally don't have in a smaller regional theater. So this is an exciting time to come and work for OSF.
But just the opportunity to work on a project where there was so much equipment, very specific equipment in this project. I mean, cranes, gantry cranes, spray booth, vent hoods for the metal shop, obviously everything associated with the trap, the die vat for the props, special storage for hanging chandeliers, and storage for costumes, trying to find proper homes for them. These are all things that are fairly unique to this project.
My name is Emily Ehrlich Inget, and I'm the costume rentals manager here at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and this is the costume rentals department. We ship our costumes all over the country to other theaters, schools, TV, film, and photography. Everything is completely computerized as far as the checkout system, check-in system. We have shipments going out daily, coming in daily. We have a website where our customers can go online and look at a gallery of photos of many of the costumes that we have here in stock, and then they can order what they would like, and we ship it out to them. In our old space, where we were for almost 10 years, everything that you see here was in a room, maybe an eighth or a quarter of this size, all mashed together, and designers, when going into pull, couldn't really find what they wanted because they couldn't see everything nicely laid out. We were really able to customize this space to exactly what we needed in order to function more efficiently. There was a lot of conversations and there was a lot of math involved, and I was measuring the length of costumes of all various types to see what we could fit where to hang, the gowns or the capes or the hats or the shirts. So you really can just walk around the warehouse one time with your rack and pull down everything that you need in one pass. Or if somebody from wardrobe is pulling for an understudy that has to go on that night and they only have a certain amount of time to do it, just the layout makes all of that a lot easier to do. Our costume shop actually reuses a lot of the costumes that we have here in stock. Probably about 30% or so of all the costumes that you see on the stage at any given time have come from stock and have been repurposed. Once the shows close, all of the costumes, those 30% that have been repurposed, and then the other 70% of new costumes come back to us, and then we process them, we put them into our inventory system, we photograph them and put them on our website. And as the costumes evolve, the great thing about this place is that it is so fluid in how we can store things.
I'm Tasia Simon. I am the master carpenter at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and this is the Scene Shop. Some of the most spectacular features about this room are our drop-down pneumatics, our drop-down power. We don't have anything that runs across the floor to keep our traffic patterns clear. We have a fantastic tool room. We have space for days to build 1, 2, 3 shows at a time. But 2 of the most spectacular features of the shop are our gantry system. It's a double-axis gantry. 2 pieces of machinery that move back and forth together separately, have chains that go up and down, back and forth, so we can assemble scenery as a single person, as a double person team, without having to pull my entire crew in order to construct multiple level walls. We also have the ability to open up the floor, and we have a great trap system, so we can set up our elevators in space. We can do all of our mechanics before they go on the truck, before we get over to the theater. It increases the efficiency and our technical capabilities tenfold from what we used to be able to do. We have huge opening doors and a hallway that our scenery goes across into our paint shop, and then we have a big loading door on the side where things can go in and out between our short-term storage and this space. We also have loading doors for all of our lumber racks. So when lumber comes in, we roll up the door, slide it right on our rack from our short-term storage space using our forklift, and we never have to lay a finger on it until we're ready to use it to build scenery.
Having this building has increased our efficiency and work happiness every day for no longer being in crowded conditions.
This entire facility completely supports the flow of the product that the user groups are turning out.
So when we were looking at having a new space, we really wanted to improve the efficiency of our workflow, and that became a major consideration in the design process and how scenery moved from our shop into our paint shop, how it moved from the paint shop out the door to our theaters, and making sure that there was as little crossover as possible.
All of the corridors here are planned to be able to accommodate the large set pieces moving through the corridors and moving through the various door openings from one department to the other.
From the beginning, you knew what your process was and the flow of material and work through the building and how it needed to move from place to place to place. And that was a really exciting part of the project, to try to figure that out with you all and figure out the best possible way to make that work on this site, because there were some restrictions that we had with the size of the building and the setbacks. And so the building, just because of the site, began to take a particular form. And from that point on, it was more about how materials would get delivered, how they would get assembled and finished and then stored and then taken back out.
And it's a very large building to build all in one single and level floor elevation plane. Trying to get your head around the concept of a trap room that is the size and scale of this one. We're 12 feet deep and 30 feet probably in across dimension there, and that all sits right in the center of the building.
Because we have to serve 3 theaters here at OSF, we needed to make it flexible. So the layout is the Bomer Theater, but we left the center area as deep as our deepest trap room, which is in the Thomas Theater. We're also able to do the Elizabethan in here.
For me, in my career, a unique aspect of the project. I mean, to take the footprint of the 3 different stages, but then create this trap that could transform from one theater to another and that had all the different components of all 3 theaters. That, I thought, was just a stroke of genius on the part of the folks at the festival who recognized that need and realized what that would do for you.
What we have here is a recreation of the front of the stage in the Bomer, including all of the trap area where we might be able to bring stuff up and down in the theater, the front of the elevator, which goes down in the actual theater into that trap room there. And so here we've recreated that whole space. So all of these plugs that you see stacked up here fill this space. We are dropped down 32 inches, which is the height of the stage in the Bomer. And where I'm standing now would essentially be where the first row of the audience would be, so that we can test fit it here in the shop before we even get into the theater, which is something we haven't been able to do before, and make sure that we are clear of fire lanes and that any of the set pieces that we are building here interface with the actual stage in the way that we would want. In the old shop, in the old reality, we would only be able to do that when we got into the theater. And so here we're going to be able to butt the stairs up against the front of the stage, lay the platforms in, and see how that interface happens.
It was a little bit challenging, just technically, to design that and create it in a way that would give you what you needed and still keep the project within budget, because it was a fairly expensive part of the project as well.
And what's really cool about doing it in this new space is before we would have laid sheets of plywood down in our old shop and taken our tape measures out and measured each piece and pulled them up and cut them by hand and put them back down. But doing it on the CNC, we can cut them all ahead of time, and now we will be able to lay them out into space.
My name is Travis Gilmore. I'm Assistant Technical Director, Project Manager for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I think the guys do incredible work here. We love the new machinery. In this room, our CNC room, we do a variety of artistic projects as well as a very specific set of show decks that we do for every show. We have to cover all of our stage floors with some sort of a raised deck. A CNC machine is a computerized, numeric controlled cutter. It's a 5x10 router table. The motors down here are for the suction of the table that holds the material down. This one has 8 tool changers, so we are able to load up a variety of tools depending on the job. The machine will take all of the data we put in and it'll grab the appropriate tool, bring it over, cut the profile, drop the tool off and grab a tool for the next profile. Obviously our dust collection system, currently we don't cut any of our deck pieces anymore. We just use the CNC to lay out all of our coffin locks, which connect the decks. We'll label the deck pieces. So this has really changed the whole way we lay out floors. In the theater industry, most people are using a CNC machine to do some of their work. And over here we have another computerized numeric controlled machine, which is a turner, which would take place of a traditional lathe. The flow of our material through the shop is much more efficient than we've ever had. The reasoning behind putting it in our short-term storage area is that's where a majority of our material comes in. Our receiving dock is right out the door. Material can come in as a unit, and then it can get brought directly into the CNC room, cut, and then sent onto the floor.
I'm Tom Mulholland. I'm the master welder at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and this is the metal shop for our production building. For one thing, we have very tall ceilings, which is great. So like when we're welding, the fumes are drifting up and out of our breathing zone. In addition to that, we have these 2 hooded venting systems. So we can work underneath those hoods and the fumes are drawn away. There's also another fan in the ceiling up here, which so if we're just working out here in the middle of the room, the fumes are drifting up and then being taken out of the building through that upper fan. We also have another vent over here against the wall that brings fresh air into the building. All that's a kind of circulation. Then if it's a really nice day outside, not too hot, we just roll up the big door so we can have a beautiful view and get some different ventilation coming that way as well. It's basically just a big open warehousey space. And so most of the time you want a cement floor so that you could drive your forklifts around and do whatever you do in a warehouse, you know. But we specifically asked to put wood in here because we like to build stuff on the floor and staple into the floor when we do our big layouts. And so they thought that was really odd, but they said, okay, if you want plywood on your floor, you know, we'll do whatever you want. So that's why we have a cement perimeter where we can put the tools, but all the interior is all a plywood floor. Because a lot of time when we're doing metal work, you know, when we're doing a big flat or a wall or a platform, we draw it out on the floor and then we block it in with blocks. And then that way it keeps its shape. And then also if you need to do multiple, say I need to do 5 walls that are all fairly similar, then you already have the layout there and you can cut all your pieces and then you put them in and boom, 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 bang them out. One of the great things about this shop is that we have this chain hoist, you know, and it can go up and down the length of the room. So we can pick up heavy items and flip them over or get them onto a dolly and just, it's a real mechanical advantage to save people's bodies. It's like having an extra pair of hands for sure. This is another great tool that we have. This is one of the great advantages that we have in here is this bending machine. It's basically just 3 points here that turn and you feed the steel in this way and it just bends around this middle piece. And that's how we can do all the kinds of, you know, we used to do this in the old days by setting up a couple blocks on a table and just taking the steel and bending it by hand, to when we wanted to frame a curved platform or do a curved track or anything like that. It was really kind of primitive. And this makes it just really so smooth and nice that it's really fun now to do a lot of curved pieces. And then over here we have our cutting wall where we have 2 metal cutting saws set up. This is what we call a cold cutting saw because it has a fluid that keeps the blade cool. But basically you're cutting the steel cold and it's just chipping the steel away. It's a much cleaner, more accurate way to cut the steel as opposed to our old saw. This is a hot saw or an abrasive saw, and literally the blade is just rubbing the steel back and forth and shooting sparks everywhere, so it's a lot less accurate and a little messier. But we still have that because sometimes we just have so much going on that you need 3 saws. It doesn't even matter what my project is, I just love coming here. It's so much bigger and more comfortable than the last space we had. It's just enjoyable to come and do your work, do your projects with the equipment we have and the space. It's fabulous.
Hi, my name is James Dean. I'm the automation supervisor here at the Shakespeare Festival. We're standing in my new shop, our new shop. This is the machine shop, part of the automation where we do all of our construction and fabrication of all of our automated devices. It's a brand new shop, it's a brand new facility. It's probably about 40 times bigger than the little closet we had back in the old production building. We've got a bunch of great new tools here. We've got some new TIG machines, and one of the machines we're really excited about we just got is a 3D printer, which is a pretty cool device. So we've got room to lay out all of our big machinery and some room to actually assemble pieces And the size of the facility has actually really improved our workflow immensely for the fact that the actual metal shop is directly next door. Before, we had to do a lot of running up and down stairs, through hallways. This place, because of the size of it, we can actually lay out equipment, lay out our devices before going into the theater, which is very important now because now we're 10 miles away from the theaters where we used to be just across the street. And then this area is the actual electronics of the automation department. In here we have our multiple electronics and setup tables. We can actually have all the computers set up, have all of the drives and controllers set up, be able to test and retest and design as we go before we go into the theater. Most of it in the past was done where we would have to do all of our computer setups in space. We didn't have room in the old shop to do that. Where in this place we have enough room to put them all together, wire them up all the way down to their final completed state. So this has really increased our efficiency. It has, though, created the ability to create very large, much more complicated things. A lot of designers will come up with some pretty advanced things, so it's kind of a give and take. We're no longer limited by the space and size and tooling capacity of what we're able to do now.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Barrera. I'm the charge scenic artist at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and this is our new production building and our paint shop. Here you can see it's a vastly improved space where we can really spread out. We can fit one entire show without having to do it in small pieces like we did before. More space allows for more scenery to get painted. It's pretty simple. We can do all the walls, lay them out at once, execute the process of back painting and then flipping them over and adding texture or adding paint, getting that process quickly done. The spray booth is like an automotive spray booth. It's a very state-of-the-art. It has equalized pressurization. It's a true downdraft, so the air enters from the top, leaves through the bottom. We don't have any cross flow. When you're spraying material, it doesn't spray into you or your face or it stays on your project. It's a really good filtration system to keep the chemicals out of us. We have proper lighting to be able to see our projects. Another additional feature we have to the shop is a paint frame. The paint frame is really helpful for producing backdrops, working upright on flattage. Before we had to paint them on the floor, and so that takes up real estate, so we can't paint other things such as floors or walls. When there's a drop up on the paint frame, we can put stuff on the floor, work simultaneously on those projects, and the work just moves that much faster. And having the filtration system built into the room actually helps a lot. We can filter out the air so everyone's not breathing a lot of paint vapors in the room, because safety is a main concern for any scenic artist. We want to be able to be healthy and continue what we do in a safe manner. It's the dream space. I think it was really helpful to have a say of what we need and how we want this to look and how to operate. Having input of how to plan out the workspace for our needs was crucial.
Hi, my name's Jim Clark. I'm the Properties Department Manager here at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and we're now standing in our new prop shop. Do a little description about what we got here. We have the main construction area. We've got a big layout area where all the artisans have their individual work tables. And then we have an area in the center where these large projects are that they can build on. And behind there's another room which is called the soft goods room. We've got some little plastic things hanging there, louvers, to keep the dust out, and that's where we do our soft goods work, which is upholstery projects, curtains, leather bags, anything that has to do with fabric. We also have another little space over there, which is the dye room. The other prop master, Paul James Martin, does the dyeing, and so we have a dye vat in there. We can get 80 gallons of water to a roaring boil and dye projects that way. Also, the other part of the shop is we have our own stationary tool setup, which we didn't used to have in the other shop. And so now, instead of sharing with the scene shop, we can go right and use our own tools. I was lucky enough to be able to work with the architects on this project, and so in the prop shop we have the loading door that's only 8 foot wide but 14 foot tall. You know, we don't build anything really wider than 8 feet, but we build a lot of tall stuff. You'll notice in some of the shops the plywood floor that's there, the whole building is on a cement slab, but there are portions of it that the cement slab is recessed by 3 inches, and then we've put a layer of 2x4 and then 2 layers of plywood on top of that for a work surface to work on. What's good about that is it gives us a place that we can temporarily tack stuff into if we need to. Also, the plywood's much easier for people to work on their joints when they're standing all day working hard or kneeling on. And the other thing is when the floor gets dirty or beat up or messed up, we can just pick the plywood up, flip it over, have a new surface, and then eventually, if we have to, just change out the sheets of plywood.
It's incredible. Having a shop that was totally designed and built just for us made all the difference in the world. The flow of the materials through the building and out, finished projects going out to the theater. I don't know how we did it all these years without it.
So we're now in the prop storage area in the new facility, and what's really great about this is that it's all here in the same building. We're just across the hallway from the shop, so when we need something, we can just come here. Before, our furniture was stored off-site about a mile away from the shop, and our hand props are down below. Now we have them all in one space, and they're all better organized. We have much more room. But a lot of the shows will reuse furniture from other shows, and so we have a stock of it. Also, when a show goes into rehearsal, we have a stock of furniture that we can pull out and give them in rehearsals so they can start rehearsal. We'll call it rehearsal furniture at that point. We might be building the real other pieces or shopping the real other pieces, but at least we can give them a sofa to use until we get the real sofa. And then in the hand prop section, we reuse that stuff all the time. It's all the china, the dishes, the TVs, the cell phones, the barrels and stuff like that. And if you've seen any shows here, you've seen a lot of that stuff in shows, and you will continue to because we keep pulling from that stock. One thing that helps is it keeps our budget down because we're not having to buy something new all the time. We have something right here that we can access. We had a good time working with the architects. It was a very interesting process for me. It was about a year and a half. They were a great group to work with because they really listened to what we were saying.
And let me just say, I've never had a construction project go so well, or a building so well suited for what it's meant to do, come out of a design process.
When people outside of the project, somebody in the public asks me, hey, what's that project that you're building? What is that scene shop all about? My first, response to that is, you can't believe what the individuals in the scene production facility do. You just don't even think about the talent that's behind all of that, and the people are really incredible. And what then is brought to reality on stage is just really phenomenal. And my understanding of the theater business, it's a lot bigger than, I think, just a lay person walking down through the plaza can even understand what's going on in this organization.
I have to say, I've went to a lot of the plays before. I'm going even more frequently now and have a different understanding of them, and getting to meet the people who do that was really exciting.
So working with Adroit Construction was really fun. When we were moving in and he saw all the costumes going into place, there was this moment of, oh, I get it.
I love the new space. On a regular basis, I stop and think about how this season that we have been building now would have been impacted if we didn't have this space.
What's great about this new space is that we were able to lay it out the way that we want. And plus the space is clean, it's well lit, but it's just the ability to design the whole space from the ground up to create what you need has really been fantastic.
Before it was like a fight to do all of our work, and now it's so easy and free and happy.
Maybe once in a lifetime opportunity to create a dream shop, so I think this is it.
So I hope you've enjoyed the tour of the production building. Of course, it's closed to the public, so you won't be able to get here on a day-to-day basis. And we just encourage you to come to the theaters to see our work because we think it's pretty fantastic.
Go to work every day. Hey!